He didn't own a home until he was 40 years old. After years of living in hotels, he finally bought his first house. But soon after, he made a chilling discovery. Though he grew up in Toronto, Ontario, Keanu Reeves was actually born in Beirut. His mother, Patricia, had been working as a showgirl in Paris when she fled to Beirut and met his father, Sam, a native Hawaiian. The couple had one more child after Keanu, but this was no happy family. Although Keanu's mother was a constant source of support in his life, his father, well, that's a different story. Keanu had always described his father as a drifter, and he drifted right out of their lives when Keanu was only 3 years old. Keanu saw his father only sporadically when he was growing up, but even from a young age, he could tell that his dad was no role model. Soon it was Keanu who walked out on his father. Sam Reeves lied in an incredibly troubled life before he met Keanu's mother in Beirut, and that didn't change after Keanu called him a 60s burnout. Keanu would occasionally go visit his dad in Hawaii, but after he turned 13, he never went back. Father and son would never see each other again, though Keanu would soon have a very good reason for hating his dad. Even after his dad walked out, Reeves' life never settled down. The family moved to Australia, then to New York City, and then finally to Toronto. After all that moving around, Reeves struggled to fit in. He went to 4 different high schools, and he was expelled from one for bad behavior. He didn't even end up getting his degree, but he did find what he wanted to do with his life. Though Reeves dabbled in hockey like many young Canadians, he found something he liked even more: acting. He started looking for work by the 1980s, and he got some harsh advice early on. His agent told him that his name was too ethnic, and suggested he go by Casey Reeves instead. He tried it for a short time before he went back to Keanu. Thank God. Keanu eventually learned to keep his love life on the down low, but back in the 80s, he wasn't quite so smart about it. In 1986, he worked on a movie called Babes in Toyland. One of his co-stars was a pretty young actress named Jill Sholin, who would later go on to date names like Brad Pitt. Their characters got together on screen, and it's no surprise that they got together off-screen as well. They dated for 3 years, but Keanu was a hot young actor. He couldn't stay tied down for long. After a slow start, Keanu really put himself on the map with a little movie called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Audiences loved his time-traveling slacker character, but Reeves still wanted to do something a little more dramatic. That's when he read the script for Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho. The heartfelt, if scandalous story about street hustlers piqued Reeves's interest. He was even more excited when he heard who Van Sant wanted to cast as his co-star. Van Sant wanted teen heartthrob River Phoenix to play Reeves's co-star. Seeing as the two of them were already friends, Reeves couldn't have been happier. But getting him on board wasn't going to be easy. When Phoenix's agent heard about the movie's shocking content, she refused to even show the script to her client. But Van Sant had a secret weapon. If someone puts up a wall, just go around it. Since Van Sant knew the two young actors were buddies, he told Reeves to take the script to Phoenix directly. But Reeves didn't just hop on a plane. Instead, he hopped on his 1974 Norton Commando and rode 1,300 miles from Toronto to the Phoenix family's ranch in Florida. Doing a 1,300-mile motorcycle ride for nothing has this thing, but thankfully, Van Sant's plan worked. Phoenix loved the script, and My Own Private Idaho ended up being a hit, and a landmark film in the history of queer cinema. Not only did the movie put Keanu on the map as a hot young actor, but it brought him even closer to River Phoenix. Unfortunately, that made the tragedy that was coming even more painful. After My Own Private Idaho, Keanu Reeves was officially one of the hottest young actors to watch. For about a minute. Unfortunately, the critics wouldn't always be so kind to him. The tide started to turn right around the time of Reeves' questionable performance in Bram Stoker's Dracula. The movie required Reeves to do a British accent. That shouldn't be a problem for an actor like Reeves, though, right? Keanu Reeves wasn't exactly a legend in the early 90s, and critics were ready to turn on him in an instant. One critic wrote, "Reeves' performance is as painful as it is hilarious." And that was one of the nicer reviews. Did you know that Keanu Reeves was married to Winona Ryder? And still is. That's what Reeves says. Though the two friends were never in a real relationship, their characters got married on screen in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Director Francis Ford Coppola hired a real Romanian priest to perform the ceremony, and they filmed the entire thing unbroken. Since they never got a divorce, I guess they're still married. As the decade went on, the critics would only grow more and more ruthless towards Keanu Reeves. But there are far worse things than bad reviews, as one devastating event would soon put things painfully into perspective. In 1993, Reeves agreed to star in a certain action movie about a certain bus that can't slow down. It would prove to be the biggest hit of his career thus far, but in the middle of production, Reeves received some heart-wrenching news. River Phoenix was dead. He had collapsed outside Johnny Depp's nightclub, the Viper Room, and he never regained consciousness. In show business, they say, the show must go on. But for Reeves, that wasn't an option this time. Everyone on the set of Speed could see just how hard the loss hit Reeves, no matter how hard he tried to hide it. Eventually, director John DeBont was forced to rearrange the entire shooting schedule to give Reeves the time he needed to grieve. Once he pulled himself together, he completed filming, and Speed went on to be a box office smash. Critics were even kind to him this time. The studio Fox couldn't believe their luck, but Reeves' next move would put him on their blacklist. Speed's success had Fox execs crying for his sequel, but Reeves made a shocking decision. He turned down all offers to do a sequel, instead heading north to Manitoba to perform as Hamlet on stage. Fox execs were furious, and they knew how to hold a grudge. They blacklisted him for the next 14 years. By the time 1997 rolled around, Keanu Reeves's acting abilities were an open joke among movie critics. After such a promising start, it looked like Keanu Reeves was destined for the B-list. Then a bizarre script came across his desk, and it changed his life forever. In 1996, director team the Wachowskis were looking for someone to star in their next movie. They wanted Will Smith, the biggest action star in the world at the time, but he didn't have faith in the script. Next, they wanted Nicolas Cage, then Brad Pitt, Val Kilmer, Leo DiCaprio, and Johnny Depp. After all those names fell through, Reeves got the nod to play Thomas Anderson, a computer programmer who goes by Neo online. He ended up being absolutely perfect in the role, and The Matrix became one of the biggest movies of the 90s. But not everything was going right for him. Jennifer Seam was David Lynch's assistant, and she first laid eyes on Reeves at a party his record label threw for Dogstar. They hit it off instantly and started dating almost immediately. Keanu had been intensely private about his love life, but he was clearly head over heels for Seam. The pair appeared together in public as boyfriend and girlfriend, something Reeves had not done in a long time. However, their love quickly turned into a nightmare. Just the year after they first met, Seam became pregnant with their first child. In a tragic turn, their child ended up being stillborn. The grief was too much for them to bear, and the two of them broke up within weeks of the loss. If this was where their story ended, it would already be a tragedy, but it was still going to get so much worse. Jennifer Seam never truly recovered from the loss of her child. On April 1, 2001, she went to a party at Marilyn Manson's house. After a few too many, a friend drove her home, but then she made a terrible decision. Still inebriated, she hopped into her car to head back to the party. She did not buckle her seatbelt. Sometime around dawn on April 2, 2001, Jennifer Seam lost control of her car. After her seatbelt on, she was partially thrown from the vehicle, and she perished instantly on impact. But it gets even more heartbreaking. Investigators questioned Reeves about her final days, and he revealed that they had actually gotten back together. They were finally starting to get their lives back on track after the loss of their child, when it was all suddenly ripped away. Reeves served as a pallbearer at Seam's funeral, along with David Lynch, Dave Navarro, and others. During the loss of River Phoenix, his child, and now his beloved partner, grief was becoming something that Reeves understood far too well, but rather than succumb to it, Reeves embraced it. The hype for the Matrix sequels was reaching a fever pitch. With The Matrix Reloaded coming out in May, and The Matrix Revolutions following just 6 months later, 2003 should have been the biggest year of Reeves' career. Instead, it was the beginning of the end. To put it simply, the Matrix sequels were a massive disappointment. Reloaded performed well, but many fans and critics had some issues with the convoluted plot. Then, Revolutions came out, and the bottom fell out completely. The film was a massive disappointment at the box office, and Keanu was right at the center of it. After the heights of the late 90s, it would be over a decade before Reeves' career recovered. Having quiet, unassuming celebs like Reeves have to deal with the paparazzi, and sometimes it can get messy. In 2007, photographers hounded Reeves as he entered his Porsche. Then things took a frightening turn. Reeves struck one of the photographers with his car. Was the man standing directly in the car's path? Of course. But do you think a paparazzo isn't going to try and squeeze every penny out of a celeb like Reeves? A few months later, the photographer slapped Reeves with a nearly $1 million lawsuit. He claimed that Reeves ought to be liable for medical bills, damages, and lost wages. But don't worry, Reeves' lawyer managed to embarrass the man in court. Alison Silva claimed that the incident had caused serious damage to his hand, affecting his work. Well, Reeves's lawyer managed to produce footage of Silva using said hand to climb a fence shortly after the accident. The jury found in Reeves's favor, and the judge threw the case out. The case ended up being little more than an annoyance for Reeves. But the same can't be said about his next legal snafu. At least Keanu knew that paparazzo was liable to sue him. The next time it happened, he never saw it coming. In 2009, a woman named Karen Sala made a truly shocking accusation. She claimed Keanu was the father of her children. She demanded $3 million a month for spousal support and $150,000 a month in retroactive child support. However, people soon realized that Sala wasn't exactly credible. Sala not only claimed that Reeves was the father of her children, but she claimed that he used hypnosis and disguised himself as her ex-husband to impregnate her. Doesn't quite sound like something Keanu would do, does it? Reeves did end up having to go to court to clear up the whole matter, but thankfully the judge sided with him and tossed the suit. Pretty much everyone today agrees that Keanu Reeves is a legend, but that wasn't always a given. Critics never really forgot about early performances like in Dracula, and the failure of the Matrix sequels cemented Reeves' place as a Hollywood punchline. Further disappointments like Constantine and 47 Ronin didn't help matters. Studio offers, once plentiful, completely dried up. By 2010, it was hard to see Keanu Reeves as anything but a husband. Then came a little movie called John Wick. When Reeves first read the script for John Wick, his grief was the thing that stuck out immediately. He does lose his wife and his dog in the first 10 minutes of the movie, after all. I love his grief. Reeves once said in an interview, "Clearly it's something he and the character have in common." Everyone knows that Keanu Reeves is the star of John Wick, but he's more important to the movie than most people realize. The moment he read the script, he knew this was something special, and he took a major role in the development. Not only did he work closely with the screenwriter to develop the story, but he also sent the script to his old Matrix stunt double Chad Stahelski. Stahelski ended up directing the movie with another old Matrix stunt performer, David Leitch. The rest is history. In 2009, Reeves met visual artist Alexandra Grant for the first time. The two hit it off, and they soon realized they wanted to work together. Soon, they released Ode to Happiness, with Reeves providing poetry and Grant creating the illustrations. Their friendship blossomed over the next several years, and they eventually formed their own publishing company, X-Artist Books. Reeves had some painful loves in his past, so he took things slow, but he and Grant eventually realized there was something more to their partnership. Though they secretly started dating in 2019, Reeves and Grant made their first public appearance together in 2020. After decades of reclusive behavior, it seemed like Reeves was finally ready to come out of his shell. But why had he been so secretive before? Though he's long been one of the best-paid men in Hollywood, for many years, Reeves didn't actually have a home. He lived out of his suitcase and moved from one hotel to the next, never staying in one place for long. However, it looks like Alexandra Grant had finally made him decide to settle down. The two purchased the Hollywood Hills mansion in 2013. While within a year, Reeves had reason to regret it. Maybe it was good that Keanu never owned a home. Not long after he purchased his place in the hills, he awoke to a sound in his library. He found a woman sitting silently in a chair. She looked up and told him she was there to meet him. Authorities eventually took her away for a mental evaluation. But mere days later, a different woman pulled the exact same stunt. Except this time, she stripped down and skinny dipped in the pool before authorities came to take her away. What a dull moment if you're Keanu Reeves, I guess. Keanu Reeves made possibly the greatest comeback in Hollywood history. He could have easily drifted off into obscurity. Instead, he's known as one of the greatest stars of all time, and more importantly, just a really nice guy. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next time.